Welcome to episode 6 of the IIMK Baad. The Baaddies are here. In this week, it's going to be a short episode. In this episode, we want to make some predictions for 2024. And at the end of the year, we're going to see which Baaddies prediction actually came true. We're going to rank the Baaddies, okay? So this is bringing out the competitive spirits from back in IIM days. And let's see. Ajigiri. Yeah. So for those who don't know what Ajigiri was, that was relative grading. So in the class, only like 20% could get A's. So if a group of people was doing very good, then others who were just like, यार survive करना है, क्यों fight मार रहा है इतनी? Because if a group is बहुत ज़्यादा fight मारता था, so everybody else had to get B's and C's. So in spirit of Ajigiri, let's see 2024 whose predictions come true in December. So the benchmark would be our last episode in December. We'll compare these predictions during our last episode in December, and we'll see which predictions come true. So we have 3 categories of predictions. It's a short 30-minute episode. Take over. Let's bring up the first category.
Thanks, Vix. So how about we go around the table and check what are your... Let's start with geopolitics. What's going to happen, whether in India, whether in anywhere else in the world, including in the US or Europe. What is your prediction in geopolitics, Vix?
Trump is going to win 2024. I hope people don't correlate that to me supporting Trump or me wearing the MAGA hat, because that's very sensitive. I don't want to identify my politics on this show. But based on what I'm seeing in America here, I think Trump will win, especially because of Biden's policy of letting in a lot of people across the border as future vote base for Democrats. I think that policy is going to backfire, and I think Trump is going to win this election.
Vix, you were saying, I don't want to be identified. Is that because you think you'll be cancelled, or is that something else why you don't want to be identified with the MAGA hat?
I think socially, I'm more liberal than Elizabeth Warren. I want people to marry each other. If you wanna live the same hell that I live in, you're welcome. Why do I want to stop you from that? So, but fiscally, I'm conservative. So, I think when we identify ourselves with a political party, we join a tribe, and once we join a tribe, we have to subscribe to all the opinions of that tribe. So I would like to not identify with a tribe and then be forced to identify with all the opinions of that tribe. I think I'm socially more liberal than Elizabeth Warren, and fiscally I'm more conservative than say Rand Paul. I like the idea of small government. I think there's a huge agency problem in large government. And I'm not saying the people are bad. I think people are great, but there's literally an agency problem. It's a human nature. You need to have agency to deliver. So I just don't want to identify with a tribe.
And I think that's a very important discussion and discretion and a difference, because what we are going to say, whether it's about Trump or any other prediction, these are not predictions that we want to happen, but these are what we expect to happen during
This
the
is what
course
we
of
expect
this
to happen,
year.
yeah.
Very important disclaimer, because yes, personal preferences aside, what is the direction of the wind, as they say. Yes.
Good. Chao, do you want to go next on what are your geopolitical, global or Indian geopolitical forecasts?
Yeah. One thing is that 2024 will be a very interesting year in geopolitics. More than half the world major economies are going into polls this year. And it's kind of, some places have 5-year polls, some places have 4-year polls, and so on. But somehow it's coinciding in 2024 for most major economies. And some of those changes will change how things will evolve in the geopolitics later on. I'm also reasonably sure that Trump will be able to win this cycle, unless, of course, the courts kind of invalidate his candidature and so on. So if that happens, then it's a coin toss, because there's no other strong candidate that they have.
And you don't think an existing President Biden is a strong candidate? I mean, there
No,
hardly been any times. It's in the last 50 years. How many times has an existing president who's standing for re-election lost?
no, that's what. So if Trump is invalidated, then Biden probably stands a good chance to get re-elected.
Right.
That's my.
No, but if Trump is not invalidated, then are you saying the only time that I remember, at least the last 25 years, is Trump himself losing as an existing president? Now, some people uh, think about the voting fraud. I don't know what's the truth out there at all, but that's the only time I can remember in my adulthood that an existing president lost in the US. Everyone has served 2 terms after. Was it Bush Senior? Or was that the last president who didn't do 2 terms? I don't know. So now let me come to myself. So I had my
So
biggest
I'll
prediction.
just take 1 minute mix on the India side also. Actually, Indian economy is also going into elections. There seems to be a reasonable certainty that the current government will come back to power. Part of the opposition has already started fracturing. You recently saw in Bihar, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Bihar chief minister resigned and then took oath again with the help of BJP. So now his current partners are out and BJP is in as their partner. The chief minister remains the same. The opposition has changed.
Yeah, I support your prediction. I think Modi is back as a prime minister.
Yes.
I would like to make a follow-on prediction that American Supreme will actually want Trump to stand in election. You don't. This is a democracy. You don't take people out through lawfare. So I have two predictions. One, the Supreme Courts will not let states block Trump, and Trump will then subsequently win the election.
So both of you have roughly 2 or 1.5 predictions. Uh, one is about the US elections and one is about the Indian elections. Before I go on to mine, can I ask you, both of you, do you think Modi in India will come with a similar margin as his second term, similar or larger margin, or would it slightly shrink to somewhere similar to the first term that 2014? Irrespective of whom I support, I do also agree that Modi will come, but that's not my big prediction.
So my sense is it will be a similar majority. Intent, of course, of the government has been to uh, create a stronger majority than they currently enjoy. But their key geographies where they are strong, they are already fairly present there. The number of seats that they stand to gain in those geographies is very limited.
Yeah, they're kind of maxed out. They've got
They're kind of
limited
maxed
headroom.
out in those geographies.
Yes. So they need more states, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu,
Correct.
whatever. Yeah.
So what's your
Okay.
prediction, Migs?
Okay. So my prediction, I had 3 predictions, and you've covered 2 of them. And I was wondering which one I will make my top prediction. So, given you've already covered Trump, you've already covered Modi, I'll stay away from the electoral predictions. And despite the fact that half of Europe is also going into elections, and I think most of them will lose because they've screwed up the European economy, Germany, and whatever else. But my big prediction, and I say this with a heavy heart, and I hope I lose this one in December. I lose this one. My big prediction is we will be on the edge of a war. I won't yet call it a world war, but we will be on the edge with a lot of countries being somewhat involved in a war by the end of this year. And I say this firstly because I don't want, and I want to lose, I don't want this to happen. But having seen what the way it's directly related to Vic's your prediction of election season, and I'm reminded of Wag the Dog, a movie I saw like 20 years ago. Uh, of course, that was a manufactured war for TV, but this is a real war known throughout history, especially with American presidents. Uh, as I see it, I've never lived in America, so I don't know the internal things. But from the outside, it seems that a lot of American presidents have used war for when their popularity dips, and they've used
I
these
think you're
things
right. Yeah.
for getting
I,
some sort of a public approval. I have a feeling that that was initially when after Biden became president and could not deliver. That's how Ukraine kind of started with Russia, and then now that that is dying down, there are things around what's that Red Sea with the Houthis. There's stuff happening there, and suddenly there's like the Iran angle and um, Iran and Pakistan. Who would have ever imagined Iran and Pakistan, self-proclaimed brotherhood, in many respects, would be attacking each other? And but then when you reflect back of the 50 years of CIA having a presence in ISI, of course I've got no proof for it, so don't hold me to it. But it's kind of common knowledge. Uh, you can see what's happening on the eastern front in Iran. And is that a precursor to what's also happening on the Syrian front of Iran and some drum beating by
Yeah.
Biden and his team? Based on all that, I think we'll be, unfortunately, into a larger scale war on many fronts by the end of this year.
Yeah, I think you might be correct, Mix. And I think the only saving grace we have is that X is now becoming more of a free speech platform, which was more controlled by the government in the past. So government finds it hard to censor viewpoints on X, and I hope wars don't happen. But I agree that CIA and other world intelligence agencies, they do manufacture wars. I don't think people want to fight wars.
Great. It's great that you mentioned XVIX because that is a nice segue into our next topic, which is the forecast in tech and startups, an area that all three of us in different capacities have been within in the last decade or more. So, what is, let's go the other way around. Chao, do you want to start? What is your forecast for either tech or startup in that part of the world? What will happen before December 24?
With respect to startups, my sense is we have seen in the last year, I myself am running a startup. The funding market has kind of dried up, or tapered down significantly. I expect this trend to continue at least through the first half of the year, before once the elections are over in most geographies, things should start picking back up. My expectation is that a lot of investment will happen the healthcare side, human health, and tech intersection. The applications of AI in specific domains. Right now, there is a lot of generic investment happening with respect to AI, but very specialized applications. We have seen companies like Pi, for example, applying mental health AI in the mental health space. So such applications will become very, very specific and much more powerful.
I think I quite agree on the healthcare part, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a healthcare venture sector. So I can see it's been bubbling, and I think we are going to see very soon healthcare going. So I agree with that. And on the investment side, I think you hit an unfortunate nail on the head. We were about to start our fundraising late last year, and we postponed it to middle of 24 because yeah, the VC fundraising climate, raising a new fund, isn't as open. Although there are some green shoots starting to appear, but yeah, let me come to and that in a bit with my prediction. But Vix, do you want to go next about your tech and startup predictions for
Yeah,
24?
my tech and startup prediction would be that the approach that Tesla is taking to self-driving, with photons in, literally video in, and AI doing all the decision making, neural networks doing all the decision making, and controls out, meaning controls of the steering wheel, the brake, and the accelerator. I think that approach will finally allow Tesla to get closer to the self-driving, and I think in later part of 2024 we'll start seeing more self-driving products on the market.
That's good. And we discussed this last episode, which if any of the viewers have missed, go to our previous episode, episode 5, and where Vix talks about all the ethics, and we discuss the ethical thing in cars, and he also tells us a secret on how to get around the regulated self-driving. I am not fully in agreement, not in terms of the direction, but on whether it will happen in 2024. I think it will take partly on the because of the ethical front that we have already discussed, but more importantly, other reasons for regulatory delays, and thirdly, because while AI generative right now, generative AI has picked up a lot. I think in terms of decision making and the false positives on I think there is a long way to go on that. So 24, will we have AI guiding our cars? I'm not so sure personally.
Sure.
Chai, what do you think?
No, I think it may take time. We are yet to see how quickly it will evolve, but the applications of AI we are seeing a lot. So I recently came across a company which was actually applying AI to help people do exercise at home. Right? So it will detect whether you are doing it properly and guide you in terms of your hand angle, leg angle, and so on. But again, they had some issues with respect to funding, so they pivoted, and now they are specializing for as a app for physiotherapists. But yes, the as I said, the application part will get greater investment. In fact, on the self-driving car, there was a recent meme that I saw where the person sat in the car that I'm unable to drive. Can you take me home? And the car said that no, I can't because my sensor has dirt. You need to clean it first. And then it was like, okay, what do I do now?
That's
If the
true.
person is
That's
not
true.
sufficiently sober for it. So there will be such use cases as well, where you can't leave it fully on the vehicle. You still require sufficient capability around.
Yes. No,
We'll see
absolutely.
how it
And
evolves, but yes, I also agree with you, Mix, that probably 2024 is too early for it to be fully solved. And as Vix mentioned in the last episode, you have the 90 to 99% and the 99% to 99.9, and that's the journey that is increasingly difficult. Right?
yes.
So we are there in that journey, and let's see how quickly things evolve.
Yes, yes. So let's see. Of course, we'll find out at the end of December which one of our predictions are truer than the others or not. Uh, and that's again that brings me to my prediction, and my prediction is also surprise, surprise AI and large language models. Last 2 years they've been ruling the roost, and my prediction is by the before the end of 2024, and we're already seeing some headway towards small language models or mini AI or mini GPTs, and you can call them by whatever name. And I think small LMs will become big. A lot of relevance for the software world and the hardware world because okay, let's take a step back. Large language models, a few companies in the world can run them. You've got Facebook having their Llama 2. Of course, it's open source, so some other companies can run it. Google's got their own. Microsoft and OpenAI have their own. And a few other companies are also developing their LLMs. But these are unwieldy, they're energy hungry, and very difficult to build for the wider part of the world. So either you get your APIs and run it, which still doesn't take away. So Microsoft, if I don't know if any of you caught that, uh, I think they got something called 5.1 or 5.2 or something like that, which is uh, like a hundredth or a thousandth the size of the GPT 3.5 that we all use. Vix, I know you use GPT 4, but I'm on GPT 3.5, and it's it's tiny. It's a tiny LM, and it gives you 80-90% of the output that all these resource intensive LLMs can give you. And we were discussing Rabbit a few episodes ago, and of course we'll put the link there in case someone has missed that episode. But But that's the tiny LLMs can fit into Rabbit. What can't fit into Rabbit is the entire OpenAI or Llama are running into Rabbit, because you need something on your OS. And so yeah, so I think that will be more interpretable, and yeah, it will be more accessible for me. So let's see which
So
prediction comes.
I just want to add one other thing on the LLMs and small language models. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but recently there was one near unicorn which got created in India with the first round funding,
Okay.
which is creating LLMs Indian languages. Right? So that's the goal that they are running with. A lot of money is being put in, and they got their first round funding, $50 million at a unicorn valuation. So it was a really kind of crazy moment in the times of low funding environment in the country. So
That's very good.
interesting.
Is that so? Is that our startup of the week? By the way, we're not doing a full episode on that, but would you say that's the startup? I had something that reminded me. I had something in mind, but let's complete this. What do they exactly do, and why did they become unicorn?
So basically, they are developing an LLM in Indian languages, and the applications are yet to emerge. But uh,
What's the
that's
name of the
the
startup and who are the founders?
founded by the this guy Ola founder. So that says third unicorn after Ola, and then the Ola electric scooters, and now
And
this.
so, unicorn is how many dollars right now, Vix?
I
It's
think
still
it's
a
$1
billion.
billion. dollars.
It's
Just
still
a
a billion.
billion.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so now we've got like decacorns and other types of corns
yeah,
out
yeah.
there.
But
Right.
unicorn are a billion. Yeah,
And how much was the investment that led to this 1 billion valuation?
I think about $50 million.
So 50 million. Okay, okay, okay. I'm always hesitant about about investments which are or rounds which are less than 5%. So
Yeah.
it's like just about 5% of the
Correct.
valuation. But no, I think that's very good. It's very good. I think it's a much needed. It will target the biggest population segment in the world, which is India, and which has the challenge for India for large language models. And the keyword here is language. Is India has so many languages. So if you look at Britain, if you look at US, well, US still has two major languages, unless Hindi has caught up or Telugu has caught up in the Silicon Valley, but mainly it is English and then Spanish. For
Right.
the US, England is mainly or largely English, and of course England English, uh, and Europe has their own. Every country has their languages, but India as a single country has we used to study like 26 national languages and then 1,000 others.
Yeah, a whole lot of dialects, but yes, there
Yes.
are certain languages which are there in the schedule, and I think number is in the 20s. I don't remember the exact.
Chow, what?
I also had a unicorn of the week, startup of the week for me.
Sure.
So in the UK, we very rarely, unlike the US and even India, we very rarely get unicorns who are homegrown. And last week we got a unicorn with an 80 million investment from what's it, Anderson Horowitz, for a voice cloning AI company called
Oh, interesting.
11 Labs. So if you have not heard of it, I think that's uh, I personally I think their product. I don't know the tech behind it, but I think that product. There are a lot of companies, including some companies that I know who are already working on that, and they're almost there. But maybe it's a race, and whoever reaches there first, and whoever gets that big unicorn type of funding, that becomes the eventual winner. But I'm quite proud that and that a UK company has made it to the unicorn list. But without further ado, what's the next list, and what's your big forecast for 24 in business and
Yes.
financial?
I just found the
24.
before you start. Like, the company is called Cruthrim.
Okay. Very nice.
What
What's
does
the
the
Ola
name mean?
founders?
Bhavish
I mean, not
Aggarwal.
that Ola meant anything, but what does Krutrim mean? I'm just curious.
It's a Sanskrit word meaning artificial.
Okay,
something
कृत्रिम.
like that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It
ओके,
says
मैंने तो
here.
3 साल संस्कृत पढ़ी थी, सो मेरे को इतनी संस्कृत नहीं पता कि मेरे को कृत्रिम नहीं पता.
What's
Where it
the
says it means artificial in Sanskrit. It's building LLMs that are trained
Wow.
on local languages and
Okay.
start a voice-enabled conversational assistant.
And I
so
think Matrix, that reminds me, Matrix has this strategy of going after repeat founders. I think that's their core
Yes,
strategy.
yes. So they
So,
they they, they were investors in Ola Electric, and that's the 50 million is the first round.
yeah, yeah. No, I was
that's very
talking to one of
impressive.
their partners the other day, and yeah, that's what came out that their priority is repeat founders, someone who's been there, done that. Let's put more money, even if we don't completely like the idea, because ideas change over time and they evolve.
Correct.
Um,
Yes.
and because we were talking after we had already spoken, um, with Chandni, and I was thinking, okay, if it's a man, will he be able to evolve very quickly, or will he be slower? So it was a thought that crossed my mind, but I was trying to focus on.
चांदनी मारेगी मिक्स तरह को.
I know, मेरे को तो पढ़ने वाली है, बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल. Vix, okay. Moving to moving to our topic, business and financial. What's your big forecast that we will see happen before December
Sure.
or by?
So I know investors should take my advice. These are the personal investment decisions that I'm making or I'm recommending to my family members to make. So I have two predictions for 2024. One, Bitcoin will cross $50,000. It's around 41,000 now, so around 20-25% gain. And my second prediction is that a pair trade between Google and Microsoft. What I'm predicting is that Microsoft will execute much better in this AI world compared to Google, and hence, if suppose somebody was to put in X number of dollars going long on Microsoft, basically buying Microsoft and going short on Google, selling Google, because and the basic idea of pair trade is that you don't want to take a risk on the economy itself. But like Mix is saying, if a war breaks out and both Google and Microsoft, they both fall because the market falls. So you're not taking a market risk because you're long one stock and you're short the other stock. And I feel like in December of this year, this pair trade of long Microsoft and short Google will at least lead to a 20% return. So these are two predictions I'm making. One for a 25% return on Bitcoin in December compared to today's prices, the last episode in December, and compared to today's prices, last episode in December, long Microsoft and short Google will give a 20% return.
Vix, why would you, if you believe in this, why would you long Microsoft but short Google? Because aren't the market risks very similar?
Sure. So yeah, because I'm not taking market risk because if the technology
But you
market
want to take
itself,
the market risk out by shorting something.
yes, in the same market. So
Yes,
what I'm saying is I'm taking an organizational execution risk. What I'm
right.
saying is I'm betting more on Satya Nadella instead of the Google CEO. That's
Huh? दोनों Indians हैं यार. You're long, you're going long on one Indian and short on
and
another
short on the
Indian.
other Indian. I'm actually going long on one culture and short on the other culture.
Right.
The Microsoft culture is much more long-term investment focused. Google's culture is very fickle, short-term focused. So, and again, I'm basing it on my relationships I have in Silicon Valley with very senior people from both these two companies, and the way they compensate people, the way they promote people. Uh, so that's the bet I'm taking. Like Microsoft, like went up 3 times in 2020 in the last couple of years. So it's an interesting bet to take.
I
But
think
I think
Microsoft is very interesting because of firstly OpenAI and then what they've done, what they are doing with Copilot and the possibilities which we don't know yet on where Copilot could become. Are they going to be agnostic to all the AI softwares and the LLMs, or are they going to fully go attached to OpenAI? I think that's still up for grabs, and they themselves hedging bets. But yeah, no, I can understand why that pair trading. might be. But
Before I
all
head
taking,
out,
yeah.
I want to show a morning in Silicon Valley
Is
from
the
my
sunrise?
window, and so that's the morning in Silicon Valley. I don't know if you guys can see. That's the mountain. The ocean is right behind the mountains, and those buildings are actually Stanford buildings. And right over there, I can actually see the Stanford dish. Guys, Google Stanford dish, and I can see the Hoover Tower in that corner. It might not be visible because the camera is not focusing, but yeah, yeah, it's
Lovely,
yeah.
lovely,
So
lovely. So
yeah,
you were up at 5 for us to get this episode out today.
yes, yes. So
Yes.
I think one thing I am taught us was you be dedicated to the cause.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing I've heard is the valley never sleeps, and I suspect they might be talking about Silicon Valley, or is it something else?
I didn't get that joke. Can you?
Never mind. Never mind. So, which where I was like, you make two predictions. You can't have two predictions. You have to pick one. Which is the
Okay,
one that you are betting on? Is
I'm
it
betting
the
on
second one?
the
It's about the
Bitcoin.
pair trade.
The Bitcoin. I'm more sure of the Bitcoin. Google.
And
But
if mixed geopolitics prediction also plays out in terms
Hmm.
of war breaking out and
yes,
being on the brink of war, then I think it will support your
yes,
prediction for the
yes,
Bitcoin to rise.
yes, yes. I think Bitcoin will
Yeah.
take the role of gold for the new generation.
I have to say, I am very personally very skeptical about Bitcoin, and I think that as like a black box that I don't understand. If I don't understand, then I don't invest. So
Sure.
it is just my.
So okay, Mix. Go ahead and challenge you to bet against me on Bitcoin. Bet it
No,
falls
no.
down by
It's
twenty
like
percent.
if I don't understand something, I go long nor short. I just sit on the sides, eat popcorn, and see other people participating in the market.
No, I agree. I mean that's the basic investment philosophy of most investment majors, right? If you don't understand it, then don't dabble in it.
With my screen time. So my prediction, I think it's a very safe prediction, but who knows if war breaks out, if something like that happens. So it's kind of a pair trading. If I lose my first forecast on the geopolitics, then this will definitely come true. And what is that? I think Sensex, the BSE Sensex, is going to cross not just 80,000 but 90,000, and possibly 100 within this year. Of course, there are so many geopolitical things that will possibly may not, and the biggest one is the global war prediction that I made. But or it is also what Chow Yu and Wix made is whether Modi comes back to power, or it is with a much smaller majority that they have to get a lot of allies to participate. And as we know, allies means a lot of pandering to individual interest. Definitely 80,000, most likely 90,000, and a hope in hell of 100,000.
So let me ask you this, Max. Within the index, which are the sectors where you see the rise stronger?
The reason I don't go into sectors or individual companies is firstly, an index always has the option of rebalancing. And that's why I love index trading. Is the index does the balancing for you rather than spending time on it. They take companies out, they get companies in. So that's my one thumbs up for index trading firstly. But more importantly, I think it is the overall GDP growth and whatever is currently in the Sensex or the Nifty and the top companies. I think India is seeing across the board GDP growth. Of course, some are growing faster than others. But my biggest sector, I think infrastructure. And the reason you have the Ambanis and the Adanis and a few other business houses is because they've got the capital which is needed for India for the next stage of growth. I mean, you and me, let's be honest. I mean, we might have some level of brain power, we might have some level of passion and effort, but we, at this point, don't have the multi millions that are needed to build one new port or create an airport in Ayodhya that we were discussing. a big business house has to do it, and it is that infrastructure that will set the stage for the next level of growth. And even setting up that infrastructure creates jobs, employment. It creates secondary benefits, like it creates not just employment but GDP growth in other ancillary sectors, and so on. So yeah, long story short, I am very confident that we will be at 85 or 90,000 by the end of this year. And if we are not, the biggest reason will be that unfortunately I will win on my geopolitics podcast, which is the global war.
No, makes sense. I think I am fully aligned with you on the infrastructure being one of the biggest players in terms of components, and you'll see, as you mentioned, as the index rebalances periodically, and the proportion that infrastructure occupies in that will go up. I also see a lot of that flowing into the financial segment, where the infrastructure lending will follow the infrastructure growth. So organizations specializing in infra lending, I do expect them to do better than organizations focusing on more retail and corporate lending. So that is there. I do expect, I would say, a fair degree of consolidation in some of the segments where there will be a shakeout, especially in the, again, in the financial segment. We recently saw the news. I don't know if you're aware, but RBI practically suspended the license for Paytm.
I heard, was it last night or today morning? I did hear that, yes. What's behind that?
So they say that it's a lot of regulatory non-compliance, not very adherent systems, looser risk controls, and
So Paytm crashed today in today's trading, right? They hit.
yes, they hit the lower circuit. We think it will probably hit the lower circuit for next 2 3 days.
Do you think they will delist or go out of trading if that happens?
No, I don't think they'll go out of trading immediately, because there'll be some degree of arresting of that fall, and whatever they need to do to kind of get out of the challenge which RBI has put them in, they will need to do that. Quickly put in the right systems in place, maybe bring in someone externally who can give that confidence to RBI. Because one of the things which we keep seeing is, as the central bank, RBI has been very proactive in terms of managing the risk, yeah, systemic risk in these markets. So they've been doing a very wonderful job allowing innovation to thrive as well as managing that risk.
Yes, and it's a very fine balance to do both of these. So yeah, no, I think it's quite commendable. They've been able to manage through their monetary policy the inflation in India. Compared to, I mean, it will in a growth economy, inflation will always be a bit high because that's what is required in a growth economy. Um, but compared to a lot of flat economies, no growth economies, where also inflation is nearly as high as India, I think RBI has done a very good job in the last 2 or 3 years post COVID.
Yeah. So my expectation is that organizations like Paytm, who have a large, very large distribution reach, large target customer base, installed base, so to say, will potentially get acquired by someone entering into that space in a big way.
Let's
Will
see. That is one extra prediction that we have from you, Chow. Let's
Yeah,
see. We'll see whether it happens this year or not. And I'm quite aware that VIX needs to leave because it's already morning and the sun has risen in Silicon Valley. So VIX, do you want to say something?
So,
maybe
guys,
next.
it's 8 a.m. in Silicon Valley. I need to go to war. So, wish me
Hmm.
luck in the startup capital of the world. And I'll see you
Yes.
guys next week, okay?
Yeah, take care,
Okay.
take care.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Cheers, VIX.
Bye.